Okay guys, so we've installed Arch Linux, we've installed Hyper-V4, we've installed this grub2 dedsec theme, which you could have picked a different one, man. Go check out that dedsec site and see if you want another one. There's a lot of cool ones. If you don't like this wacky hacker style, search dedsec grub again, and there's another dedsec collection that just has like Arch Linux, Debian Linux, you know, more basic but still cool themes. So we'll boot into our Arch Linux. We will see our cool Plymouth theme that gives us a nice graphical way to enter our Lux password. In a minute, after we see Hyper-V4, we're going to take out the SDDM login password because that Lux password is enough. We don't need this screen right here. So anyway, let me enter my password. And now we'll take our first look at Hyper-V4. Hyprland, the tile and window manager, is under heavy development. First things first, and this is actually documented in the Hyper-V4, the background doesn't show up when you first boot. Let me really quick open up this terminal, and I'm going to vim our main Hyprland configuration file. So you see right here, the only changes I've made is to screen monitor for my capture card. We'll just quit, exit. All right, so the first issue is you can't see my mouse because it's on my laptop, but do you see the icon in the upper right corner, that circle? To get the background for the first time, you have to click that. And once you click the circle, the backgrounds show up. You can switch from dark to light. And there we go. I see another issue. You might not know this if you don't know Hyper-V4, but in the upper left, it should show all of our workspaces. You know, workspace 1, workspace 2, workspace 3. I know that issue is because of a change in Waybar. So to fix that workspaces issue, we'll go into the Hyper-V4 config, and then we have to go into Waybar. We'll go into the config for that. And we're using version 4, so let's vim v4. And right down here, you see where it says WLR/workspaces? Well, Hyprland made a change, and now it has to be Hyprland/workspaces. So if I write that, and then I exit out with super M, we'll log out. Now, you can see that our workspaces are listed up there. I have some other changes that I need to make because I don't have, I can't swipe. I have a trackpad. You might have a trackpad too. Let me open up Firefox. Oh no, actually, go into here. We'll edit our main configuration file. And if we go down to gestures, I think it's called. Yeah, gestures. Workspace swipe. Let's turn that to on. Let's also put, for me, workspace swipe fingers equals 4. And I also want one called workspace swipe forever to be off. And now when I write that, I can swipe with my 4 fingers to any workspace. Now you might be wondering, how did I know these variables? Workspace, swipe, fingers, blah, 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 blah. Let's quit out of here for a moment and we'll load up Firefox. There's a couple important things that you know about Hyprland. First, there is a wiki. You can go to this wiki, and if you look on the left-hand side, it'll help you with start configuring, variables, keywords, monitors, you know, everything that's in Hyprland is here. Is it in here? Control find. Let's go to gestures. Yeah, there you go. So it's in variables. And here it shows you all the options for gestures, which, let me make sure I have an open configuration file for you. So within this gestures heading inside your hyprland.conf, these are all the different variables you can use. You might want more than me, but for me, I like workspace swipe on, workspace swipe fingers. I like to use 4 fingers, and I don't want it to swipe forever. Another issue that, again, oops, I'm sorry. This is in our main hyprland config, so we'll vim hyprland conf. Go all the way to the top, well, close to the top anyway. I want to go to our exec once part. On this swww.init line, we're going to do sleep 1 and a semicolon, and that will fix our background issue where the background is not showing up when we first boot in. So if we write that, if we log out and log back in, and it is. This Hyper-V4 setup, we're configuring it, okay? That's our job. We have to fix anything that was wrong with it because of hyprland changes. It's not Hyper-V4's fault. I'm sorry, it's not hyprland's fault. It's our setup. I'm going to try to track down these 2 issues. Like right now, we can push our function buttons for brightness, but our volume isn't working. And I think I remember it had something to do with pulse. So now that's an Arch thing. Let's do a pacman query. We're going to grep pulse. All we have is libpulse. So let's do a sudo pacman, oops, s on pulseaudio. You know, for some reason, Hyper-V4 should have installed that. And do we have pavview control? Is that what it's called? Pavview something, huh? We do have pavview control. At any rate, let's try. Oh, I have another issue I want to fix right now. Let's go into our main hyprland config and edit. Keybinds are in our main one. Let's edit hyprland. I want to go down to keybinds. Here we go. Hyper-V4 has main mod F4 to kill the active window. I'll leave that, but I like, oops, I just messed up. Okay. I actually like hyprland's regular main mod C. So I'm going to write that, and now I can use F4, but I can also use my regular super C to close windows. Now that we've installed pulseaudio, let's log out. We might need to reboot. Let's see if after a reboot, our audio icons and being able to change our volume and hear audio is fixed. All right, and now you see up here, the icons have appeared. I'm going to push the mute button, and volume is on. And now I can turn my volume up and down. We can test that. Oops, we want to keep that window actually. We'll go to youtube.com. Am I going to get this right or no? I don't know if that'll work. There we go. Let's try to play one of our videos. Don't know if you can hear that.
It's a Commodore 64 disc.
But we now have sound. So, for some reason, Hyper-V4 didn't install pulseaudio. We installed it. Bada bing, bada boom, baby. I'm going to go back to the main Hyprland wiki. This is where you're going to learn how to configure your hyprland. All your hyprland.conf files. And I don't know if I showed that. Let me show you where all of our configuration is. It's in 2 folders. The hyper folder is our main hyprland configuration. And then Hyper-V4 is where all the Hyper-V4 theming stuff is. So you can edit both of these and change your entire setup. Let me show you another thing. I know you can't see the mouse, but right to by the time in the up here, you see this icon. I'm going to click it, and that'll automatically update your Pac-Man and Yay. Whenever there's updates, Hyper-V4 shows them up there. I guess I could run through all the hyperland stuff. From the left to the right at the top, you can press the power to get into your, your logout or your shutdown screen. You can lock the device by pressing the lock right there, and it's a really cool. I think this is SW logout. I'll have to show you. It's W logout. The lock screen is really killer. If you put in a bad, oops, it has to be up there for 3 seconds. If you put in a bad password, it says no. Put in your right password and you get in. It's awesome. Then you have your workspaces. Over here, the eye icon, if you activate it, your laptop screen won't turn off. Then you have your time. You're seeing these pop-ups when I have my mouse over this. We just updated, so this one will disappear when it checks. You have CPU usage. You can click it to get a BTOP. You have volume next to that. Your microphone. Settings. Or no, I'm sorry. This is brightness. Your network. Bluetooth. Temperature of your computer. You get BTOP if you click that again. Oh, there it was. If you right-click, it'll keep the percent there for you if you right-click these icons. So, you might want to quickly see your temperature, which I wish it was in Celsius, but anyway. Your battery. Hyper-V4 does have the ability, if you're from a different country, to add different locales or key setups. See this V4? If you hover your mouse over the V4, it shows you some of the default keybinds. But if you click that, there were like Hyper-V4, Hyper-V3, Hyper-V2, etc. So if you click that, this is Hyper-V number 1. Then Hyper-V number 2. Hyper-V number 3. That one, toolbar was at the bottom. Anyway, that cycles you through all the different versions. Again, the circle in the rightmost will go from light to dark mode. At the bottom, you have an application launcher, which is Wofi, all the way to the left. And then you have your apps you use a lot. You can put icons down here and you can change those. These are the apps that are open in the middle. And on the right-hand side, you have your temperature stuff. I want to show another cool website. The Hyperland wiki has all the information about Hyperland, as we talked a little bit. You can make window rules, workspace rules. You can change your animations. I'm going to show you another cool thing. If we search GitHub, Hyperland Awesome. I think it's Hyper Awesome, actually. Okay, Hyperland Community Awesome-Hyperland. This will show you a bunch of different helpers, plugins, and whatnot. Here's one change that I want to show you. When we currently, let's say if we put our volume up, it has a neat pop-up that shows you the percent. Or if I change my brightness, it shows that number. I don't really love that, There's one called avizo or avizo. And if I go to avizo, it's a Mac OS looking one. So let's go down. With Arch Linux, we always know we first search Arch Linux avizo, and that it's in the yay, or I'm sorry, it's in the AUR. So let's install that. We'll do yay, and we're going to install avizo. Let that go. Okay, there we go. These two we're going to comment out. Mute. Yep, we're going to comment out every one of them out, actually. Okay, so I'll just note here that these were the stock Hyper-V4 setup. We moved to avizo. Okay. Here's what we're going to do now. We're going to use a bind E. And I can show you what bind E means. It's a different way to bind. Bind flags. The E flag will repeat when held. So for avizo, since it's that little pop-up, if we hold the thing down, I want the volume to continue to go up. So anyway, here's what we do. Same thing. XF86 audio, raise volume, comma exec, comma volume CTL dash U up, baby. Another one, bind E, XF86 audio, oh, not raise, lower volume, exec, volume CTL U down, bind E, audio mute, exec, volume CTL, toggle mute. I bet we could see right here if we ran the volume CTL help. Oops. It does have a help. You can see the different options right there if you're looking at home and you want to see any of them. I messed it up. I'm going to keep going. That's 3. I need one more here. Bind E, comma, audio mic mute, oops, this one needs a -M flag for the mic. And now let's do 2 more for the brightness. It's called MON brightness up. And this one is light CTL up. Easy enough. Bind E. Light CTL down. Let's write that and see if anything happened. I forgot one thing. This line should actually be down here, commented out. Okay. And up here, oops. I forgot first of all to exec avizo service. Okay. So now our media binds file. It execs avizo service first and then listens for the binds. And you see that? Now when I do my function F5, F6, you know, whatever your brightness keys are, you see that? And for volume, you see that. If you mute, you see the mute, and same for your mic. So I think that's awesome. If we didn't like any of Hyper-V4's helpers, we could just add our own. We'll open up Firefox again. I believe somewhere in here you can find all these helpers. It might be, okay, useful utilities. Let's go there. This is on the hyprland wiki. And it'll talk about status bars. We're using waybar. However, you can pick other ones. So Hyper-V4 uses waybar, but you might want to check out EU or a hybrid or blur. I like waybar the best, so I don't want to mess with that. But some of the other helpers are worth checking out, as we just changed to avizo, and I think that this is a lot cooler than having it show you, 1500, 1200, 1300, blah, blah, blah. Furthermore, you can modify avizo and change the colors there. You can make this bright blue if you wanted to, or there's a lot of settings that you can set within avizo. At any rate, we switched over to avizo. Great. But, for example, app launchers. So we're using Wofi, which is the most popular one. But maybe you like bmenu or Tofi, which is a text user interface one. Let's just check that out. Let's do sudo pacman. I don't know if it's here in the AUR. Right now, too, we can either click in the lower left hand, the lower left of the screen with those 9 dots. If we click that, it brings up Wofi and it shows you all the stuff you have installed. Or if you press super space, it pops up this way. I think it shows the most recent stuff. You can also change that setup. I just installed Tofi, so let's just run it. Oh, there you go, yeah. So you do tofi.run, and it pops up in big screen. And I bet Tofi drun is a small one. No. But there will be settings in here. So Tofi run help. Come on. And we can probably do like, width. There's a 200 width. So at any rate, let's do a 500. Okay, 500 width, and let's do a height of 300. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, if you preferred Tofi over our, well, now it's covering it, over our Wofi that we're using, you could set that up in any way that you want. And there's many other options to this too. So maybe you want to use Tofi instead of Wofi, and that's something you can change. Well, how would I change that? Well, how are we using Wofi right now? Right now, if we go into the Hyper-V setup in Wofi, here's Wofi's setup. It has a config file, shows width 600, height 300, location center. Let's go into the main hyprland config, and let's vim hyprland conf, and let's go find Wofi. Next, next. It has window rules, and main mod space just execs Wofi. Boom, right there. But that's being pointed to our Wofi setup. So we could just do another bind. Oops. I'm going to do it dirty right here, but we could just do a bind exec. We could do Tofi run width 600. Was it height? Was it height? Yep, height 600. And that's it. And now when I press super space, we get this instead of Wofi. Now, instead of putting all the options here, as stated, we could make a Tofi directory and drop our Tofi setup just like there's a setup here. And we could even change that 9 dot thing in the lower corner to pop up Tofi. For that, we'd have to edit the waybar config. Well, how would you do that? We'd go into waybar, you'd go into conf, so you'd vim v4, config bottom, you'd search for Wofi, there it is. It does launch Wofi. If I search Wofi, and then I do next, here's that. So what this is doing is it's running sh sleep 5 pkill any other Wofis. And then see, all's hyprland 4 is doing Wofi and pointing the config to that Wofi config for lower menu. So it has different settings, which pop it up that way for the lower menu. And we could do the same here for Tofi. I'm not going to keep that. I don't want Tofi there. So back here in my main thing, oops, all I'll do is I'll hash this out and I'll unhash our old one. And now when I push super space, I get my normal Wofi. But my point being is you can learn about all the different helpers and app launchers and make Hyper-V whatever you want. One thing that I like to do, we're running SDDM auto login. Let's go to etc. there, and we'll vim, oops, I'm going to probably need sudo. We'll sudo vim autologin.conf. Okay. We'll put auto login, user, and your username, session will be Wayland. If we do a sudo vim etc autologin.conf, we're not logging into Wayland. We're logging into hyprland. Is that right? Yeah, hyprland. All right, a reboot real quick. So I think just having this password here is plenty enough security for the first time we log in. If we walk away from our computer, you just push Super L and it locks. So you know somebody would need a password. I'll show you another thing here. Let's open Firefox and let's search for sway lock or idle. Actually, I'm going to search for Arch Linux sway idle. So right now our screen won't turn off. If you just leave this on, it'll stay there. So this software swayidle is neat. We'll go to our config hyper. We'll vim our main hyperland config. Let's go up to the execute once stuff. We'll make a new one. This will be set swayidle screen lock. Will always, go black if system locked for 1 minute. So that's if I push Super L and we're locked here. I want this screen to turn off after 1 minute and go black. And also we'll make another thing. We will go to the screen, goes to screen lock after 5 minutes if I just walk away from the computer. So let's do exec once equals swayidle -w timeout for 60 if pgrep -x swaylock, then hyperctl dispatch dpms off fee. Resume hyperctl dispatch dpms on. Okay, another part to it, we will lock screen after it's idle for 10 minutes and turn monitors off after 11 minutes. Exec once. This one's going to be swayidle -w. Timeout 600 this time. On the swaylock -f-c. Cachehome.config. Swaylock config, we got to make sure that's there. Timeout here is 660. Hyperctl dispatch dpms off. Resume is hyperctl dispatch dpms on. Okay. Now let's make sure. Oops. Let's make sure. Yeah, sway lock's there. Okay. So we just set that. I'm just going to show that. I'll speed it up. Actually, here's what I'll do. I'll change this real quick to 6. And I'm going to lock the screen. And there. Oh, well, that stinks, you guys. It did turn off on my monitor, but not the, that's weird, not the second monitor. So I'm pushing Windows lock right now. And boom, my monitor went off, but the capture card didn't. So sorry I can't show that to you. However, it does work. I'm just going to vim that real quick to make sure I change it to 60 again. So that's only for the lock screen. However, here, this one will go black after 600. Let me do that. I'm going to change this to 6.2. However, I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Oh, I didn't have an equals in there. You see that, guys? Time out, time out, time out. Do you see the problem? I do. Oops, Vim messed up because of my terminal. Hold on. I didn't have the equals. That'll mess us up. So now when I write this, hyperctl reload, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1005. I hate everybody in the world, just so any of y'all know. Okay, so now after 6 seconds, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. Now, the lock screen pops up. Whew, that was a long way to show you just how to edit some neat stuff in. Jeez.